Hello and welcome to a new episode of Whatever This Is. I'm Marco, the beer pong Mexican.
And I'm Brian. Hello, everyone.
Hey Brian, how are you? I'm glad you
Oh, yes.
you came by and
Oh, yes. Yeah. Happy to be here.
well, this is a new format. After we recorded the episode on Tearmoon Empire, I got really hooked on the light novel, so I just wanted to start it from the very beginning. This is not the regular format for a podcast. This is just basically an audiobook.
Exactly. Something we've seen before in a few different channels and even maybe audiobooks, but this is kind of our take on something we really like.
A few things have been changed from the light novel, from the translation, just to make it sound a little more fluid, if you will. And for today's episode, I will be playing as the narrator and as the supporting characters.
And I will be playing as or speaking for Mia Luna Tearmoon.
Yeah, well, this is take 37 of us doing this, so hopefully this one will work.
What? 37, yo.
Nah, this is take 4, so...
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, let's get started. Hopefully, I want this to become a regular series on top of all the other stuff that we are doing on the channel. And, this sounds fun. This will actually make me read stuff, which,
There we go.
Stuff with no drawings like I normally am accustomed to.
Yes.
All right. Are you ready, Brian?
I am.
Okay. It starts at the Guillotine. The red fiery red sunset fills the horizon. A guillotine was set up in the main square of the capital of the imperial city. The rusted rock blade was glinting in the sun. Standing in front of it was Mia Luna Tearmoon, the only princess of the Tearmoon Empire. Stunned, she looked around her surroundings. She can hear piercing voices of anger and malice. They were blaming her for everything.
Why is this happening? Why should I, the only princess of the glorious Tearmoon Empire, be subjected to this? Was it because I laughed and told them to eat meat if they didn't have bread? Or was it because I slapped the daughter of a poor noble out of anger? Was it because I fired the chef who kept on cooking hated yellow moon tomatoes?
She kept on wondering as she saw gazes of the angry people, totally unaware that she had already answered her questions. At the front was a young man giving instructions to the soldiers. Sion Sol Songland, the crown prince of the great kingdom of Songland. His silver hair and the way he stood out looks very dignified. And beside him was a girl as dignified as him. She was called the Saint of Tearmoon, a young lady from a poor noble family who, with the help of Sion, started a revolution because of the suffering of the people. Tiona Rudelbahn. She despised and hated Mia before, but now the flames of hatred had disappeared. All that's left were the ashes of resignation.
Why is this happening?
Mia weakly muttered. Eventually, a soldier behind her forced her to kneel. She could see in front of her was a plank of wood with 3 holes. Those holes were for fixing prisoners that will be decapitated. The crude surface of the wood bit into her skin and left splinters.
Why is this happening?
This was the 3rd time she asked the same question, and still no reply. For the sake of the Empire, die quietly, princess. Looking up, she saw the eyes of the soldiers who forced her into the guillotine. They were cold and hostile, but she didn't have any time to be scared. A heavy blade of iron fell. Then there was a dull sound. Then everything was spinning. A used diary, the only article she was allowed to have, fell into the ground. Its pages slowly started to seep in the blood, same color as the sky. That was how Mia Luna Tearmoon died. Mia screamed. It was a scream that was totally improper for someone that is the princess of the empire.
My head.
She frantically patted her head to make sure it was still attached to her body.
It's still there. I'm okay.
Next, she looked down on her body. She was wearing a luxurious nightwear instead of the stiff, tattered clothes. Her clothes now was fluffy and has plenty of frills and is comfortable to the touch. Her skin, that was once full of scars, small and big, was now smooth. She stared at her palms, which seemed to be a little bit smaller than she remembered in her dream.
It's like the hands of a child.
Still a bit drowsy, she got out of bed and stood in front of a full-length mirror. What she saw was blue eyes that are wide open, platinum hair that is trimmed around the shoulders, and healthy cheeks that are slightly flushed. It was her appearance when she was about 11 or 12 years old. It was the time when the empire was the most affluent and prosperous on the continent.
Strange, I'm sure I was 20 years old.
At the age of 17, she was captured while trying to escape and was imprisoned in a dungeon for 3 years. And so, the memories of all these painful days resurfaced, one after another, falling as teardrops from her eyes. She recalled the suffering, the nights she cried to sleep, the feel of the hard stone in the dungeon, the cold damp blanket. She was confused by the memories, but more than that, she felt relief.
Oh, that's right. None of that ever happened. How could it be?
She laughed it off as a bad dream.
It was a silly dream, and how childish of me to believe it really happened.
Mia continued laughing. Then she noticed something near her pillow.
Oh?
Mia tilted her head, confused. There was something there. It was an old diary. As far as she can see on the cover, there is no mistake that it was the diary she has been keeping since she was 10 years old. It looked much older than it should be.
It is covered with dark stains.
It's just like the diary she saw in her dream. She picked up the diary with trembling hands. Slowly, she flipped over the cover and saw the pages dyed in red and black. Written there were her grudges that matched her dream word for word. Her suffering in prison, the fear of the guillotine. They were all written in vivid details. Mia screamed again, fell on the bed, and fainted. After regaining consciousness, Mia remained lying lazily on the bed with her hands and feet splayed sloppily.
I don't feel good.
She didn't eat lunch because she had no appetite. It was because she still wants to believe that it was just a nightmare. However, the vividness of the memory and the blood-stained diary reminds her that it was not just a dream.
Ugh.
She groaned and rolled to one side of the bed. Then she groaned again and rolled to the other side of the bed. Just like this. She worried and groaned and rolled for about 30 minutes.
I'm hungry. It's been less than an hour since I declined lunch. That's right, I've heard that sweets are good for the brain, especially when thinking about things.
She clapped her hands. She had got a good idea and her face became brighter. She jumped out of the bed with a spring in her step and left her room. Mia and the rest of the imperial family lived in a place called the White Moon Palace. Its halls were ornamented with green, gold, and white moonstone. Mia walked through it, truly taking in the sights. Right now, the empire was at its peak of prosperity before its decline. She continued walking down the corridor and eventually entered into one of the 4 dining rooms, the Midnight Sun dining room. When she entered the large room, a man inside gave her a confused look. "Oh, Princess Mia? What can I do for you, Your Highness?" Mia was a little surprised upon immediately recognizing him. He was a big man with a bird-like body and a very thick, fluffy beard.
Isn't this the chef that I fired? That would be about 2 years from now.
My apologies, but what was that? It was on her 14th birthday that Mia fired this chef who kept on serving her vegetables that she hated.
No, it's nothing. I'm hungry. Could you prepare a snack? A moonberry pie would be nice.
I beg your pardon, but I cannot serve you snacks so close to lunch. The words made Mia feel nostalgic. She smiled unintentionally. Thinking about it, this chef was the only one who refused Mia like this. The chef that replaced him just cooked whatever Mia wanted, and it became boring.
Is that so? Well, can you serve me the leftovers of lunch then?
Huh? For some reason, the chef looked at Mia in shock.
Is there something wrong?
No, it's nothing. Then I'll bring them now. In a short time, the dishes line up in front of Mia. Soft and fragrant freshly baked bread. Stew with plenty of seasonal vegetables, marinated with red fish and a fruit platter.
Oh, I miss this.
Mia said especially as she saw the stew full of vegetables. This was because the stew contained yellow moon tomatoes, which Mia dislikes.
I can never stand their sourness.
Mia stares at the yellow moon tomato on her spoon.
But this looks delicious somehow.
Suddenly, she remembered what she was forced to eat in prison. Bread that is hard enough to break one's teeth. There was even mold on the surface, and it was also very dry and difficult to eat. The stew that came out from time to time was murky gray, and she always wondered if the vegetables used were actually wheat. She didn't mind the taste though. She just wished that it wouldn't make her stomach hurt for days after eating it. She has heard about the ongoing famine and that there was no food. But Mia thinks that her treatment was more of a harassment than a necessity. As a proof of that, there was a day when they only fed her shriveled yellow moon tomatoes, knowing that Mia hated them.
That was terribly unpleasant.
When they forced it into her mouth, she remembered the indescribable green odor, sourness, and harshness. She got goosebumps just remembering it. She returned her focus on the yellow tomato before her.
Compared to the one at that time, it's kind of shiny.
Mia was planning to leave it, but with a little curiosity, she put a piece of the tomato in her mouth. Immediately, her eyes snapped open.
Chef! Call the chef!
The maids trembled at Mia's words. Your Highness, is something the matter?
Just call the chef here.
The chef appeared before Mia, his face clearly showing signs of nervousness. Was it something that you didn't like, Your Highness? Mia held a spoonful of yellow moon tomatoes before the chef's nose.
What is this?
It's a stew of seasonal vegetables. The way the chef answered suggested that he was hiding something, but Mia wasn't going to be fooled.
I'm asking what this vegetable is.
Mia asked while bringing the spoon closer to the chef's face. There is a difference in height between the chef and Mia, so she stretched out her arms and stood on her tiptoes. It is indeed a yellow moon tomato, Your Highness. The chef answered after realizing that Mia was not backing down. The maids around them all looked worried.
Really? This is a yellow moon tomato?
Incredibly, Mia stares at it and then puts the spoon in her mouth with her quivering hand. There was a refreshing sourness that spreads in her mouth the moment it touched the tip of her tongue. There was a faint sweetness hidden in it. The moderately simmered vegetables crumble in her mouth and melt, leaving a wonderful finish in her mouth. The exquisite taste, which is different from what she remembered, shook Mia's emotions. Enthusiastic, Mia took another spoonful. The stew melted on her tongue, leaving a rich flavor, and the bread has a soft sweetness to it.
Was bread always this soft?
Her muttering voice was trembling. Then she noticed the tears were flowing down her cheeks. Your Highness, did you not like it? Was there something wrong with my cooking? The chef panicked. Mia, whose mouth was full, tried to reply, or her voice wouldn't come out. Furthermore, she started choking on something, and so she flayed her arms wildly. After showing a behavior that wasn't princess-like, she managed to calm down when one of the maids brought her water.
I enjoyed it, chef. Your skills are commendable.
Mia smiled at the chef, who was nervous. I'm honored by your compliment, Your Highness, but that stew was made to bring out the natural flavor of the ingredients, so the flavor is not all to my credit.
Was that so? But that yellow moon tomatoes, wasn't yellow moon tomatoes supposed to be more greenish and bitter?
She remembered what she was forced to eat in prison. It was hard, bitter, and tasted very, very bad. After a bitter smile, the chef said,
Oh, in the case of yellow moon tomatoes, if you save the trouble of boiling, it might have such a taste. However, the one we prepared for you was cooked for 3 days. Anyone can make it if they pay attention to the heat, you know?
That much time? But if it takes so much time, we can just avoid eating it altogether.
I can do that, Your Highness. It is our duty as subjects to protect the health of the imperial family.
The chef puts his hand on his chest and bows deeply. Before, Mia took for granted such signs of deference, assuming that it was the normal way of things. But it wasn't. After the revolution that fell the empire, there was nobody who gave a care about her, nor any deference. She has learned this now, and so she softly smiled and said,
You are very considerate. Know that I am most grateful for your efforts.
Huh? Hearing honest gratitude from Mia, the chef was in absolute shock that his mouth went agape. He took 2 unsteady steps backwards. He never thought that such selfish princess could utter such kind words. At this point, it should be obvious how Mia usually behaves. The chef stared at Mia with a kind of bewilderment, as if he had just seen a witch through the sky. Finally, words came out of his mouth. He scratched his chin out of embarrassment.
I am very honored, Your Highness. Well, it is also a matter of cost. The foods prepared today were of the finest quality, that is equivalent to a month's salary of the common people.
My, is that so?
Talks of cost and price have never made much sense to Mia. In the first place, she was raised as a spoiled princess. She was the kind of woman that can get anything that she likes with just a glance. She wasn't interested in how much her living and food expenses are, nor was she interested in how much the common people's salaries are. So she naturally did not care about the chef's words. Or it was supposed to be like that. But, do you have any idea how much it costs to feed you royals? A sarcastic voice suddenly echoed in her mind. Surprised, Mia looked around.
What in the heavenly moons? Who's that now?
It was a familiar voice from her memory.